The internet was designed for sharing information, not for security. And today, it is a vital global infrastructure in our modern society, and it has become extremely powerful and extremely dangerous. There are more fake identities on the internet today. There's more fake content on the internet today than real. And cyber breaches, some say that they cost $10 trillion. That would be the third world's largest economy. Some are very cynical that this will ever change, but I'm honored to be part of an international team that is committed to help make it significantly safer. And we're going to do this by following other industries that had similar security challenges. And I'm going to give you a fantastic example. It's the car industry. 70 years ago, there was no security in cars. And happy, excited car drivers, they hit the brand new highways, excited by the freedom and the speed, and many of them never came home. And then there were some really smart security engineers at Volvo that decided to do something about this challenge. They came up with the seatbelt, the 3-point seatbelt. And then they decided to give this invention to the world and make it available for all cars. And they worked with government regulations to create laws that required seatbelts. And then after, we got the crash zones and the beepers, the warning signals, and we got the airbags. We got smarter, safer roads. We got driver licenses, and we got all. Hey, the security industry, the car industry, and the governments, they worked hand in hand. And today, we have 10 times safer cars. There are 10 times more cars on the streets today than we had 70 years ago, and the number of fatal accidents are less. So what does this have to do with cybersecurity? We can do the same. Government and industry can work together. And I'm absolutely convinced that in 5 years, we will have a 10 times safer internet if everything goes as I plan. So, how did I get into cybersecurity? It started 20 years ago. I was going to log on to an internet bank, and the bank told me that I would be safe with a username and a password, and a software security tool that I downloaded on my computer. But I happened to know someone who told me that this was not safe, that it would take him 1 day to write the code that could empty my bank account. And to inform the bank about this security risk, I called up the bank's customer service, and I got a fun response on the other side of the line. Can you please tell your friend not to do that? Okay, that was an amazing motivation to start getting into cybersecurity. I have a background in product design, and my husband at the time, he had just built the cybersecurity system for the largest nuclear plant in Sweden. So he knew about these things. And I started poking him, what can you not hack? And he said, any software that's downloaded on a computer or phone are vulnerable for attacks. And hardware that is in user's control and is encrypted with the highest level of encryption is going to be the only thing that eventually will not be hacked. So, okay, that's an easy. Let's create it. However, the hardware solutions that were available at the time that was secure, they were the smart cards. They were very, very complicated and difficult to use. They were not designed for security. They were not, they were designed for security, but not for users. They needed a card reader. You couldn't use it on many services. They were not designed for mobile. And so I understood why the bank hadn't given me one of those. So Jacob and we decided to create a simplified version. And it was in the form of a small USB key that just worked. You didn't have to download any software. You didn't have to have a card reader. And our vision was to enable this key to work across any number of services. And we knew we couldn't do that alone. We needed to work with Silicon Valley, and we had no idea how to get them interested in our solution until, this is in 2009, Google is hacked. A major phishing attack breached Google, and their source code was stolen. And Sergey Brin, who was a CTO at the time, said, we're going to go and look for any innovation company, any scrappy startup, to fix this problem. And they found us. And that's when I wrote my first business plan. I said, we are going to move to California. We're going to work with Google, Microsoft, and Apple, and we are going to create a global standard. We're going to integrate our technology into all platforms, browsers, so everyone can be safe. And we made it happen. The standard is named FIDO Passkeys. You can find it under the security settings under Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, whatever systems. And it's not perfect. There's work to be done on user experience and messaging, on use cases, but it's 90% done. This is the first attempt, and this is the first step in creating a global identity system. 3 years ago, I stepped aside as a CEO for this company that I founded. And 2 years ago, I started engaging in, and this was not happening in US, this was happening in Europe. Europe has decided to develop a really bold vision, one common, secure, privacy identity system for all European citizens. And I said, this is our chance. A year ago, I founded a new nonprofit, because I realized this could not be done by a commercial company. It had to be a neutral ground that can collect all countries, all tech giants, all AI companies, all research companies, and just agree on an open source, open standards platform, sort of like a global bank ID. One single authentication and identity to access all of it. That is privacy preserving, that is in your control. And we are now the leading solution in the European digital identity wallet solution system. And I have now 20 seconds left. And here, I just want to say, there are so much things we can all do to make the internet safer, but this is my first start. And never doubt that a small group of committed, thoughtful citizens can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has.